Okay, let's start part 8 of Bluetick Pig. I took a little break between readings. I'm just hoping I remember what voices I assigned to everybody. If I mix the voices up, sorry, but we'll try. Throughout August, Bluetick went to Plum Grove School with the Powell children. She had a good breakfast before leaving home for her 2-mile trot to the Plum Grove School, where she would be receiving something for the lunches of 50 pupils, plus the acorns from the oak, which she liked very much. Bluetick was getting plenty to eat, and Mick said he'd never seen a shoat like Bluetick grow up to be a hog so fast. In late August, something happened that was the talk of all the Plum Grove people who had cows and milked them. It happened at the Powell's farm first. "Something is milking our cows," Molly said. "They aren't getting half enough milk." It was a very poor family who lived on an adjoining farm. There were 14 children in this family, and the gossip in the Plum Grove neighborhood was that they never got enough to eat. "Could it be that those children are milking our cows?" Molly said. "They could be doing this. I've heard of such when children are hungry." "And it could be a cow snake," Mick said. "Don't leave out the snakes that'll milk cows." Then 4 other farmers reported that their cows had been milked. Everyone living among the Plum Grove hills was on the watch for cow snakes, 6 feet long and as large around as a man's big forearm. One day late in August, Bluetick was not at Plum Grove School at closing. This was unusual for her. The Powell children started home without her following them. They wondered where their Bluetick was. When they were walking up the path next to Win Winfield's barn, Sarah was looking at the barn when 2 planks came off the side, and Bluetick came running out. Mr. Winfield came through the barn door and shouted, "Get out of here! You're the animal that's been stealing the milk!" "Oh, let's go!" Sarah shouted. The Powell children started running up the path for home. They now knew it was their pet that had been milking the cows. Bluetick was ahead of them, running for her life, and Mr. Winfield was behind them all, tracking the hog that had stolen milk from the cows. Bluetick was in the yard when the Powells, sweaty and tired, arrived home. She met them with pleasant grunts. "Oh, you done wrong, Bluetick," Sarah said to her. "What will we do now? It's not a cow snake milking everybody's cows. It's you, our pet, and our friend." "Oh, wrong or right, I'll stand beside you." It wasn't but a few minutes until Mr. Winfield arrived. He tracked Bluetick all the way to her home. When he arrived, Mick and Molly were in the front yard to be with their children to greet him. Mr. Winfield said, "I can't believe that runt pig I sold you is milking my 2 cows. For a month, they've not been giving any milk. I thought a cow snake was milking them." "You're right, Mr. Winfield," Sarah said. "It was Bluetick. I saw the 2 planks come off of your barn, and I saw you running out after her." "What?" Mick Powell said. "I can't believe it. We've accused other people of milking our cows, and it's our own pet." "Well, she thought the cow was her mother," Sarah said. "I sprayed milk into her mouth once. She learned where the milk comes from." Molly said, I'm glad we know the truth now." "And with all the feed she gets," Mick said. Bluetick was in the front yard. She was grunting friendly grunts, talking to them. There's the planks coming off the barn, and Bluetick running for dear life as Mr. Winfield's getting ready to chase her down. Bluetick felt she hadn't done anything wrong in obtaining more food. You'll have to keep that hog away from my premises," Mr. Winfield told the Powells. Oh, we will do that, Molly told him. We'll do it if we have to put her in a pen to stay. Our pet won't bother you again. I know, he said. There are no damages. I just never want her back with my cows. You have to keep her penned up. What we will do, Mr. Winfield, Mick told him. Mr. Winfield started walking back home. The Powells now had a new problem that they discussed at their supper table. They would have to keep Bluetick in her new pen. They couldn't let her out, for she was milking their own cows. She could no longer go to Plum Grove School. Bluetick had to be kept in captivity unless the Powell children were with her. Bluetick could now be called a hog. She weighed nearly 300 pounds. Her eyes were bright, and she kept her tail curled over her back. Molly and Mick wondered what they were going to do with her. If Bluetick wanted to come into our house, Mick said at the supper table, I think she could break through our wooden front door. And you know she wants to come in and be with us. She loves us, and we love her. But look at what she's done. She's getting too big for us. I don't know what we're going to do with her. There's Mick at the dinner table, discussing with all the kids. I'm thinking Sally, Sarah, Finn, Martha, Molly, and there's a little one, Gretchen? Gretchen's not her name, but the little one. At least that's my guess. Oh, we're going to keep her, Sarah said. But we can't keep her forever, Molly said. Then there was silence at the Powell table. Swine are usually fattened, killed, and eaten, Mick said. This is the way it is. Sarah began to cry. All the Powell children around the table began crying. Bluetick must never be killed, Sarah sobbed. Bluetick must live forever, even if we have to turn her free and let her go. I don't ever want to kill her either, Mick said. But the time has come. We'll have to do something with her. This was a sad evening at the Powell table. The Powells were in trouble with their pet. They decided to fasten her up in her new pen and feed her well. Beyond doing this, they didn't know what they would do with her. Bluetick was then kept in her pen with the door fastened with a strong chain. It was impossible for her to get out unless her door was unfastened by one of the Powells. Her new pen in the Powell's backyard was a lonesome place for her. Bluetick loved company. She liked to see and be seen. She liked to have the soft hands of the children stroking her face and her back. She liked to hear their soft voices speaking kind words to her. The pupils missed her at the Plum Grove School. They asked the Powell children about her each day. Even their teacher, Mr. Clark, asked Sarah about her. She's been missed more than any pupil I have ever taught, Mr. Clark said. She's made me, for the first time, feel very kindly toward all pigs. August days passed, and September came. Bluetick was kept fastened in her pen, except on late afternoons after she had been fed. The cows had been milked, and the Powells had all done their chores. Glenna, that's the little kid's name. Then Sarah, Martha, Finn, and Glenna went to her pen. Sarah unfastened the door. Now come on out, Miss Pretty Thing, Sarah called her. Come on and take your walk with us. Bluetick grunted happily to see them. She was always glad to see them. This walk each late afternoon was a happy time for Bluetick. Sarah, Martha, and Finn walked beside her. Glenna walked behind and often pulled Bluetick's tail, which pleased Bluetick. They walked across the yard and out the path to the barn. If Bluetick wanted a bite of grass, she stopped long enough to get it while the Powell children patted her face, head, and back.
Bluetick has grown so big, but she still thinks she's one of us,
Martha said. On the third Saturday in September, the sun came up and the winds were warm. This was a nice Saturday for the Powells to walk to Greenwood. Everyone dressed in their best clothes. Sarah and Martha had red ribbons on their long braids of blonde hair. Little Glenna had red ribbons on her blonde pigtails. This was always a happy time for the children. They could walk to Greenwood, see people, and buy ice cream and candy. Sometimes they ate lunch at the corner restaurant. Greenwood was the farthest that the Powells traveled from home. When they left the house, they walked past Bluetick's new home under the twin hickories in the backyard. After a wonderful breakfast of meal, stirred in sweet milk, Bluetick was lying on her bed of leaves with her tummy full, resting and enjoying the warm morning sun. But when the Powells walked by in single file, laughing and talking, Bluetick jumped up from her bed and went to the woven wire fence that closed her in. She began talking to them in her friendly grunts.
Oh, she's asking us where we're going,
Sarah said.
Yes, she wants to go with us,
Martha said. This is one of the places she can't go, Mick said. There's not a place for a hog in Greenwood. She's in her right place, fastened behind a fence that will hold her. As the Powells walked further along the path, Bluetick's grunts got louder. She was now squealing to them. Molly, who was walking behind, turned to look back. She's trotting from one end of her pen to the other, Molly said. Oh, poor thing. She loves us and wants to be with us.
Oh, she's really crying,
Martha spoke softly.
We're not treating Bluetick right.
She'll just have to cry, Mick said. Her place is in the pen, and not with us. Think of taking her to town. What would we do with a big hog like her in Greenwood? What would people think of us? Now the Powells had reached the top of the hill beyond the orchard. They were out of sight of their home. They were out of sight of Bluetick. They were walking along a beautiful path where they could look down on either side of the valleys below them. Bluetick will quit squealing now, Mick said. She can no longer see us. Since she won't get her noon meal, she had a good She had a good breakfast, and she has plenty of water in her trough to do her all day long. She was given extra corn and a big breakfast this morning.
I wish Bluetick was with us,
Glenna said. Yes, Martha said. She'd love it. I think of her back there fastened up in that pen. Now, you children forget about Bluetick, their father told them. Let's enjoy this day together. We won't get many more days as pretty and fair as this one. Autumn is here, and winter follows autumn. Yes, you'll get ice cream and candy in town, and you'll see lots of nice things and a lot of people, Molly said. Now, forget about Bluetick. The Powells had just reached the foot of the mountain on the path when Molly, who was walking behind, stopped.
I hear her,
Molly said.
I hear grunting. Bluetick is coming.
Bluetick came running down beside them. She was getting her breath fast, for she had been running hard. Now her grunts came fast as if she were telling them she was glad she was going too.
Bluetick,
Glenna said, stroking her head. Sarah stood there smiling as she looked at Bluetick. Sally and Finn were smiling too. She's so big and strong she's gone through that new woven wire fence, Mick said.
She needs a ribbon around her neck,
Martha said.
Bluetick has never been to town before. We want her to look pretty.
Oh, I'm just trying to decide whether to go on or not, Mick said. Honestly, children, I really don't want to go to Greenwood on this Saturday morning with a big white and blue spotted hog following us. Well, we really can't turn back, Mick, Molly told him. There are things I have to buy from the store, and we need to sell or trade the 12 dozen eggs in your basket. We can't take them back and keep them much longer. They'll spoil if we do. While Mick and Molly were talking, Sarah was taking a red ribbon from Martha's braid and one from Glenna's pigtail. She then took a ribbon from her own braid. She tied the ribbons together. Sarah smiled, and Martha and Glenna laughed as Sarah made a red bow and tied it around the top of Bluetick's neck. Mick and Molly watched while Bluetick stood very still. She seemed to know that the Pow girls were dressing her up to make her look nice on her first trip to Greenwood. Oh, you look wonderful, Bluetick, Sarah said.
Now, let me fix your hair, Molly said. You can't go to Greenwood with a ribbon and just one braid on your pigtail.
Oh, I'm sorry, Molly's mom. Now let me fix your hair, Molly said. You can't go to Greenwood with a ribbon on just one braid or on one pigtail. I want my daughters to look nice. Molly said, You must look as nice as Bluetick. Oh, I think we'll have more trouble before the day is over, Mick said as they walked down the winding road. When the family arrived at Greenwood, they met a well-dressed woman walking toward them on the same street. Sorry. When she saw the Powells with Bluetick walking with them, she stepped off the street and let them pass. She didn't speak. She had a frown on her face. They met other people who walked across to the other side of the street. The children they met stopped and spoke to Bluetick, but Bluetick was with her own family and didn't talk to strangers. Two men they met stopped, smiled, and then moved on. Now they reached the courthouse square. The Ohio River flowed on the north side of the courthouse. The other sides of the square around the courthouse were lined with stores. Bluetick had never seen so many people. I want to get this basket of eggs off my arm, Mick said. Let's go to Bart Smith's and get our groceries. I know it looks like Smythe, but that's the old-fashioned way to spell Smith. The Powells bartered eggs at Bart Smith's grocery store, which was on the main street in the center of Greenwood. Mick was the first in the store. Hey, good morning, Mick, Bart said. Glad you're bringing me some eggs. I need 'em. Mick put the basket on the counter. 12 dozen, Bart. That basket on my arm got a little heavy after 4 miles. Oh, such nice country eggs, Mick, Bart said. They sell here. I can't keep 'em long. Just then, Sarah walked in with Bluetick beside her. All the Powells were in the store now. Bluetick walked over to the counter and grunted her friendly grunts to Bart, as if she knew him, and he was her friend. Bart ran around behind the counter. Oh, a hog! He shouted. Get it out! I'm afraid of a hog! I'm a city boy! Bart made it to his meat counter and grabbed the meat cleaver he'd used for cutting slabs of bacon. No, no, Sarah shouted. Don't you hit Bluetick. She's a pet. She won't hurt anybody. There were many customers in the store. Many were from the country and had come to Greenwood to shop for groceries. Here we see Bluetick and the family walking down the street. Lots of weird looks from people. The pig that big walking down the street like a pet, you get a lot of weird looks too. Anyway, these folks came in from the country to shop for groceries. They began to laugh at Bart, who was afraid of a hog. People out on the street who heard Bart screaming ran inside to see what was wrong. As they were coming in, Sarah was taking Bluetick out the door. Inside the store, Mick sold his eggs. Oh, sorry. And Molly bought her groceries. Now we have to stop at the Lantern drugstore, Molly said. We have to get some Vicks salve and some turpentine.
Ice cream for me, Mom,
said Glenna. Yes, ice cream for all of you. When Mick and Molly Powell walked into the drugstore with their children, Bluetick was with them. The children talked and Bluetick grunted. The drugstore had a counter with 8 stools, and these were filled with people eating lunch and ice cream, and drinking coffee and sodas. This was a quick lunch place for visitors and for people who worked nearby. Did I hear something grunt? Asked a well-dressed woman who was busy eating a sandwich. She turned around to see Big Bluetick standing behind her. Bluetick had her mouth partly open, showing her fine teeth. Oh, my heavens! She shouted. The woman jumped up and ran out the door, with her hands above her head, screaming at the top of her voice, "A hog! A hog!" Not very happy, it seems. Others eating at the counter turned around to see what was wrong. When another woman saw Bluetick, she jumped up, ran behind the counter, and back toward the room where Dr. David Madden filled his prescriptions. "Well, it's just a hog," said a man eating soup. "It won't hurt anybody. And look, it's got a ribbon around his neck. It must be a pet."
Can I pet it?
Asked a girl about Sally's age.
Sure,
Sally told her.
She won't hurt you. She broke out of her pen and followed us to town. How'd she get that ribbon around her neck if she did?
Oh, sorry, asked another woman. How did she get that ribbon around her neck if she did? Asked another woman sitting at the counter. She had a frown on her face. I don't believe that. Lady, my daughters took ribbons from their hair, tied them together, and put them around Bluetick's neck, Molly said. We'd walked halfway to Greenwood when Bluetick came running up and caught us.
She'd never been to Greenwood, and we wanted her to look pretty,
Martha said. Now everybody at the counter laughed, but the woman with the frown on her face.
"Y'all get that hog out of here,"
said a waitress who came up from behind the counter.
"A hog in here would ruin our trade."
It doesn't look like it'll hurt your trade, said the man who had a smiling face, was eating the soup. Looks like that pet hog is bringing you in more trade than you could handle. The Lantern drugstore was filling up with people after the first woman had run out of the door screaming. They wanted to see what was going on in the drugstore. Give each one of our children a double cone of vanilla ice cream, Molly said. Then I'll want a bottle of Vicks salve and a small bottle of turpentine.
"Not until you get that hog out of here," said the waitress. "If you don't, I'll have to go back and report you to Dr. Madden."
Come on, Bluetick, Sarah said. So many people had gathered inside that Sarah couldn't lead Bluetick among them through the door. Meanwhile, Bluetick watched to see where the ice cream came from. When Sally brought Sarah a double cone, Bluetick pushed her way back over to the counter. She lifted her front hooves up on an empty stool. Bluetick stood up almost straight. She was pleasantly grunting to the top of her voice. She wants ice cream too, said the man who had called her a pet. Now the waitress had run screaming behind the counter, and most everybody in the drugstore was laughing. Oh, she's going to tell Dr. Madden, Bluetick, Sarah said. Come on, let's go. I'll give you my ice cream. 10 scoops makes 5 double cones, Molly said. It's 5 cents a scoop. Here's 50 cents. She laid a $50 at the cash register. Come on, children. Let's get out of here, Molly said. I'll get the Vicks and turpentine later. The people parted so Bluetick could get out of the drugstore. Dr. Madden came to the front, but the Powells were already outside with Bluetick. Oh, I told you, Molly, we'd have trouble, Mick said. One thing more I have to do. I've got to go up to the courthouse and buy 2 dog tags. Bluetick and the Powells crossed the street. When Molly looked behind her, there were more than 50 people following them. The traffic had to stop to let these people cross. Just as soon as Sarah reached the courthouse square, she stopped with Bluetick.
Here, Bluetick, I promised you.
Sarah held the ice cream cone to Bluetick's mouth. While Bluetick ate it, the crowd gathered as close as they could to watch. Bluetick liked the taste so well that she closed her eyes while she ate. It didn't take her long to enjoy this little bit of tasty food. The Greenwood County Courthouse had 2 sets of steps going up to the second level of the building. One was 4 going up. One was 4 coming down. The county clerk's office and most other county offices were on the second floor. Mick Powell started up the steps on his right. Sarah was behind him with Bluetick. Sarah started up the steps, and Bluetick never faltered. Bluetick followed Sarah all the way to the top. When Sarah reached the second level, she looked back, and the people were still following them. One thing about this, Sarah, her father said. Don't be afraid if Bluetick goes into the county court. Don't be afraid if Bluetick goes into the county court clerk's office. The clerk belongs to our party. I voted and worked for him to keep him in that office. Bluetick will be treated with respect. She'll be treated much better than she was in that drugstore or in the grocery store. When the Powell family, Bluetick, and the crowd reached the upstairs corridor of the Greenwood County Courthouse, they made a loud noise. But Bluetick's grunts were heard above all human voices. As everyone went down the corridor, people came out of their offices to see what was happening, and they joined the crowd. Now, Mick Powell entered the last door in the corridor. This was a county court clerk's office. When Mick entered, he was followed by Bluetick and the family.
Ah, the hog in here, said one of the workers. Mr. Powell, I'll tell the clerk that you're here.
But I just want 2 dog tags, Mick said. He laid 2 $1 bills on the table before him. She went after the... I guess that was a lady. I thought it was a guy. My bad. I'll change the voice. She went after the court clerk, and when he came to the table, he welcomed the family and their pet hog. First time a hog was ever in this office, Mick, the court clerk said. What are all these people doing following you? That is a lot of people following Blue. That is a big pig. And a lot of folks following them all into the office. What are all these people doing following you? They've taken a liking to Bluetick, our children's pet hog that follows us every place. The people crowded inside while the court clerk wrote 2 dog licenses for Mick. This was the end of the day for the Powells in Greenwood. They couldn't go to the corner restaurant and eat as they had planned. They couldn't take Bluetick with them. They left Greenwood, following the busy street over the back road to their home. When they reached the back road, the crowd following them turned back. The Powells were both hungry and tired. They had an unforgettable day in Greenwood. After Bluetick's adventure in Greenwood, Mick doubled the woven wire around her pen so that she couldn't break through. Bluetick was kept confined again. She didn't see anybody except at feeding time. September was passing, and the Powells didn't know what they were going to do with Bluetick. Although she was a big hog, she was still a pet. She still thought that she was a member of the family. That's a long section. So I'm going to stop right there on page 85. So they had a big adventure all around Greenwood. Some people liked it, some people didn't. But regardless of how they felt, the Powells definitely had a memorable day. See you in the next video.